What if your best-selling product could live in the cloud, generate revenue without physical inventory, and still satisfy your customers' deepest needs? Sounds impossible? In this episode, we'll reveal the concept of the ultimate product and why you might already be using it without realizing it. In the end game, every company that succeeds will be an AI first company, or are there...
Probably in 1875, people were asking, do you think every business is going to use electricity? It's only going to be for the few, right? I can't believe everybody's going to be using electricity. AI is a general purpose technology, just like electricity. I think in the 21st century, what we're going to see is that AI is going to monetize cognition. And I think that's what's going to happen to businesses in the future is how do you... And so we're living in almost like a steam engine world. And that now we're trying to, put AI in as the new electricity. And we've got to create new systems to take advantage of that. So when I think of AI, there's kind of maybe three different levels of AI to think about for your business. The first one is I'll call AI optimized. You just take your existing business and you optimize that using AI, whether that's automation or, agents for your front office, whatever it might be, almost like way American Express uses AI, for fraud detection. That it's their existing business model, but then they insert AI to optimize their system. The second level is what I'll call AI enabled, where your business model is actually enabled by artificial intelligence. Much like Tesla, uses AI for self-driving features in their car, or for, even increasing the speed of the car by uploading software to your car. And then the third level is what I'll call AI first or AI fueled, where you actually start with AI and you build the business model around artificial intelligence, much like Moderna, has done. The COVID-19 vaccine, when the Chinese government uploaded the SARS-CoV-2 virus on the internet, I think it was 13 days is what it took Moderna to create the vaccine in silico in a computer. It took another, a year for it to be manufactured and tested and actually injected into a human's arm. But that's an example of an AI first company where they actually start in a computer and then they come into the real world. And so I think it's going to be important for people to look at their businesses and determine what aspect of their business can be optimized by AI, what parts of their business can be enabled by AI, and what parts of their business can be completely AI fueled, and figure out what that journey looks like for your individual company.
So do you think there's a possibility that will, in the end game, every company that succeeds will be an AI first company, or are there some types of companies that can really only be sort of more AI, some kind of industries or sectors that can really only be AI optimized or AI enabled?
Yeah, well, again, I keep going back to electricity. Probably in 1875, people were asking, do you think every business is going to use electricity? It's only going to be for the few, right? I can't believe everybody's
Right.
going to be using electricity. It's so dangerous. And how are we going to manage? So a lot of the issues I think that people contended with, how are we going to get it out to the rural areas? Is it really going to affect my business? I do really believe that, AI is a general purpose technology, just like electricity. And today, electricity is in the background making everything work. In the future, AI is going to be in the background making everything work better. And just like electricity, helped to monetize labor in the 20th century, think of washing machines and dishwashers and vacuum cleaners and, all the labor that got monetized by electrical devices. I think in the 21st century, we're going to see is that AI is going to monetize cognition. And it's going to be about building intelligence into all these products. And just like today, you really don't need to understand how electricity works. You just need to know how to plug into it. And I think that's what's going to happen to businesses in the future is how do you plug into AI to make your organization smarter. I think the companies of the future need to be smart, sustainable, and bold. Smart by embedding intelligence into everything you do, being sustainable by making everything that you do, conducive with the environment, and bold, having the courage to take action is really vital. And so I do think it'll be, 50 years from now, there'll be very few businesses that won't be utilizing AI, data, AI, and robotics, in my opinion.
So, um, you were leading global R&D at Dow and chief scientist at Kimberly Clark. So you actually over your career have come across or faced some big trends and shifts from things like the internet to PFAS. If you when you kind of think about those roles and those kind of being in those types of companies, how do you think about these new technologies like AI and what to do about them, how to navigate them, if you were kind of back in those shoes?
Yeah, well, when I was an engineering student, I remember a professor saying one time that the ultimate product is one that doesn't exist, but its function does. And it's always stuck with me. The ultimate product is one that doesn't exist, but its function does. And for the longest time, it didn't make any sense to me what he was saying, until you pick up your iPhone, and
Right.
there's a map, there's a compass, there's a flashlight, I mean, there's the yellow pages. I mean, it's all those products that no longer exist, but their function does. And I think that's a really important question to ask within your business is how do you move from atoms to bits, right? Today, if you have a product centric business based on moving atoms from one location to another to generate revenue, the question becomes also how do you generate revenue by moving bits from one location to another? And then how do you use those bits to make better atoms? Right? How do you collect data from your customers? So if you can get data from your products and your customers, you can do three things. One is you can provide a new experience to your customer. Two is you can understand your supply chain, your products, and your processes better than ever before and optimize them. And three, you can create new business models by monetizing that data in new ways. And so, I think that's the kind of mindset I think I would bring back to a business is how do we start to collect data from our products, no matter what that product is. When I was at Kimberly Clark, and I've talked about this publicly as well, is this imagine if you could collect the bio data from Kimberly Clark's products. I mean, it touches, you know, it, think about this for just a second. In the next 24 hours, 2 billion people will use a Kimberly Clark product and put every biological fluid known to man in those products and simply throw them away. What if you could access the data? Every time you blow your nose into a Kleenex tissue, all the information you need to determine if you have, COVID-19 or the flu or an allergy is right in the palm of your hand. So how do you start to collect data from your products? That would be a question I would ask no matter what you're selling. And then use that data to create a new experience for your customer, more insights into your business, and create new business models.
Yeah, so it reminds me of the kind of the transition that Disney made, launching Disney Plus and going direct to consumer with basically their media content, so they could have more of that direct relationship with their end consumer, which I think was enabled through essentially the distribution platforms changing to for a large kind of product-based company to have that kind of direct relationship. Uh, do you think what do you think is missing right now that would need to be in place to be able to do that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just wrote a post on LinkedIn on this idea that When I was at KC and even Dow and even companies I talk to today, is I think there's this false choice, and the false choice is, do we spend all of our time optimizing our existing business, or do we spend our time creating new business? And I think AI changes all that. If you can use data and AI to optimize your existing business, you will find new business there that you'd never seen before. So let me give you two examples. One is Amazon, right? As they started using AI to optimize their business, it helped them create Amazon Web Services that they never would have, offered before. Or think of Netflix, to your example with Disney. Netflix, again, using AI tools to understand what movie the customer wants to watch next, allowed them to actually start creating content. They actually got into a completely new business model by using AI to understand what movie the customer wants to watch next. And so I think one of the opportunities is to use these new tools to optimize your existing business, and by doing so, you'll uncover new business. I always think there's only four ways you can innovate. You can either innovate the product, you can innovate the brand, you can innovate your channel, or you can innovate your business model. And by optimizing your business with these AI tools, I think you'll uncover new products, new channels, new business models, and even new ways to communicate your brand.
Yeah, and something we've spoken about in this vein a little bit is even at PreScouter, we've been facing that same choice. Do we, optimize our existing services, or do we build kind of new services? And what we've been doing, I think, is a little bit of both. And it's, we have Auxee, which is our application for helping kind of research focused teams basically accelerate their work processes. And in the same time, we have internal teams who are kind of using these technologies to really kind of speed up processes and accomplish more. And so it feels like, I guess, it feels like when the ChatGPT moment hit, it feels like for law firms, it was a very loud, some types of companies, it was a very loud wake up call. It feels like for the manufacturing sector, because there isn't maybe, it's not as centric on knowledge work, it's a little bit behind. And then in the middle is kind of like the kind of consulting world. And do you have any thoughts on how consulting might change over the coming years from the changes in technology?
Yeah, I'm always reminded of the Tom Peters quote, which is, you need to outbig the small and outsmall the bigs. And I think AI is going to allow the smalls to outmaneuver the bigs. What I mean by that, and I think one of the great examples is in the finance industry, is Ant Financial. So Ant Financial, which is a kind of an offshoot of Alibaba, they have 10,000 employees, and they serve more than 700 million clients with a multitude of services. Versus a traditional business like Bank of America that has 209,000 employees. They serve 67 million customers and have a very narrow. So Ant Financial, with 5% of the employees of Bank of America, serve 10 times the number of clients. And they do that because they're an AI first or AI fueled company versus Bank of America, which is an AI optimized company. And so I think there's an opportunity in the consulting world for small companies to do an Ant Financial to the big consulting companies by actually becoming a AI fueled, AI first consulting company, where the big companies are going to be more optimizing what they have with AI. The small companies can actually start with AI and build their clientele using these new tools. And I think that's the game changer here for any small company. I mean, it would be similar to the internet. I mean, you could, put up a web page and look like a big company.
Today, we've uncovered how AI is transforming products from physical items into data-driven intelligent services, monetizing cognition itself. So basically, companies can now charge for their AI's ideas instead of their own. You'd think humans measure progress by how little work they can get away with doing. That's one way to look at it. To keep up with practical insights on how AI is reshaping business, sign up for our newsletter using the link in the description below.